everyone. Welcome to Femme Fables podcast. Megan here, and I have a special guest, Laura, with me today to come on and tell me one of her stories. Deidre couldn't make it today, so you told me the story at...
It was Amber's
baby shower.
Baby shower, and I started telling the story and suddenly had a crowd of people around me. So
yeah, because it's a good story. It's a good story.
You might as well tell it.
So, so she was telling me this story, and I had not even thought about the podcast yet, but I reached out to her a couple days ago. I was like, you have to come on and tell the story because it's so unbelievable. It's like a Hallmark movie in reverse gone wrong or something.
Yeah, Hallmark probably wouldn't sponsor this one, but it's an interesting story.
All right, so go ahead, tell it. Tell us, start from the beginning.
All right, well, here it goes. So back in, February, so we're talking like a year ago, really. I was coming out of, a long relationship and everything. I run. So, one of the first things you do is you go join running groups, right? You're trying to meet other friends, people, and just not sit around the house. Fast forward, I see somebody who looks a little familiar. It's this guy, and we used to actually work together a couple years before that. So we recognize each other. We finished up after the run. We're having beers. We're chatting. There's a little, maybe it's flirty. I can't really tell. Full transparency. I didn't know if he was gay or straight or not. So it was one of those things. I'm like, he's flirty. Yeah, I'm like, he's all right. I don't know if he's into me or gay, and this is a new gay friend. So all that stuff doesn't matter. So fast forward to the next day or so. We'd exchange numbers to run together and stuff like that. I have a running towards business, so we were chatting about that. He was going to come along and join or something. He asked me to go and, watch a movie with some friends. And again, even after that night, we hung out or whatever, I still thought he was kind of gay. I really thought it was kind of a friendship thing.
So he didn't make any moves or anything to suggest, okay.
Correct. So I was just like, okay, that's what this is after that. Now, again, fast forward again through a couple weeks or whatever, and we did hang out. Turns out he's not gay or whatever. He obviously was interested. And we hung out, and he seemed, kind of normal, a little quirky, whatever. Yeah. But it just didn't click, right? I still got that kind of vibe. Like I said, I'm a runner. I have reptiles my whole life. He's got a cat. It wasn't, we weren't on some very tomboyish. We weren't compatible. It was a quick no, but it wasn't a no for him, I guess. So, COVID's also happening at this time, so people are staying away from each other. Mm-hmm. I'm kind of chilling. I'm working in Lauderdale at the time, so I start, hanging out with a guy from there. Things were connecting. Me and this other guy had not been talking for a while. We're still bantering back and forth on Instagram and stuff like that, but he's still trying to hang out, I guess. He's still pursuing it, but cautiously because of COVID, everybody's kind of staying back a bit. And I keep delaying and this and that. We finally have the conversation. I just say, look, I just came out of a long relationship. This is not what I need right now. And this just really isn't clicking, blah, blah, blah. We have a few more of these conversations, over the next couple weeks and this and that and this and that. And then he still kind of chats with me and everything, but I think he's given up at this point, right?
Are you still seeing him at the running stuff? Okay.
No, I dropped away from all that stuff because I didn't want to run into him anymore. And I was also starting to, I'll get to some of that stuff, other stories from friends that I was hearing of people who were running with him and things that he was saying about me. And things started to get a little bit creepier and creepier. And at the same time, I'm trying to balance a guy who I, at the time, thought I really liked. Things were clicking and that was going well. And also, fast forward to the summer, that actually kind of screwed things up because he started questioning, well, what did you do with this guy to make him act like this? So that guy's long gone anyway.
Come on, why would he act like this if he didn't think he had a chance?
Yeah, and I'll get a little bit more because some of the timing of that stuff gets a little weird too. So without rambling forever, so let's kind of wrap it up here, right? So like I said, I have a running tours business. I go up to Charleston to see this guy. This guy happens to be in the Air Force. He's getting ready to leave for a while. So I want to go up there and spend as much time with him, all that stuff. And the guy, Emery, is sitting there. I haven't mentioned his name yet, but Emery. He was still texting me and pursuing and saying, where are you? When can we run together? This and that. And while I'm sitting there, out to dinner with this guy that I like up in Charleston, I see on my phone, because I'm always checking my work emails and stuff, I see I got a running tour booking. And you can guess who booked the running tour. Can you guess?
The guy who's being creepy.
Yes. So
it just got creepier.
And that, yes. And so that, it kind of gives me, like I said, this has been a while now.
So booked it, because usually you're doing groups of people, so
right. But it's also private tours too, so that's.
I gotcha. Okay.
So that's
usually people traveling together though, probably.
Yeah, you get a couple or something, and I'll be completely candid with that part. the one thing I do think about that, like when I get a booking from a person at like 5 a.m. from a guy or something, I look those people up, I screen them, like, because and I've always in the back of my mind actually had thought about that before, like, God, would anybody take advantage of this? Because every once in a while I get like Instagram messages and I'm thinking like, please don't book a running tour for the wrong reason.
Right. Yeah.
You know, like, don't do it. Do it because you like. Yeah. You like when I'm passed around. So he does that, and at that point, I say, look, I can't do this anymore. I'm with this guy. Like, it's got to stop. You know, you're ruining something that at the time seemed important. He insists that we talk on the phone. So I have to leave this guy, go out, find a place to talk to him, because I'm still trying to be a nice person.
Yeah.
To follow your
very
woman.
kind of you.
Follow your woman, right? That's what we do. We were too nice. And I tried to do that. And so, whatever, we have a conversation, he says he's embarrassed, allegedly, or something, and all these things happen, and then a little bit of time goes by. I think life is restored to normal, but we're still friends on Instagram, we're chatting. I'm sure at some point he saw me say I miss, in my time, at the time, my boyfriend who's overseas, and next thing I know, he's bought the house next to me. So that's the part where it just got crazy creepy. That's the part where I did, yes.
So he booked the running tour.
Yeah.
You go outside to call him, and basically you're like, look, dude, I am with somebody. It's affecting this. Obviously, I'm assuming he canceled the booking or whatever.
I told him I'd give him his money back or whatever.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then, so how much time had passed between that? Like, okay, you followed you on Instagram, you probably chatted here and there. You probably thought nothing of it. I told the guy it is what it is, but you can still be friendly, right? That's what.
Yeah, and that's a big part of Instagram for me, right? I've got all my runner friends on there, so I always respond to people.
It's not you, it's this that keeps turning.
You're cool. So I'm always I'm always trying to respond to people. I think stuff's good. And quite frankly, he started running with some of the other girls that I knew from a running group, so I thought maybe he had like a little crush on somebody else. I'm like, heck, he's moving on, whatever.
Like, great, yes.
But then at the same time, he hadn't, because I had talked to one of my friends, and he basically, like, she was trying to sway him to somebody else, and she said, describe the perfect girl, or what's your dream girl? And he said, Laura. And I'm like, I don't know if you're allowed to cuss on this show, so I stopped. But I was about to.
Yeah,
so
I curse a lot.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that happened, and it just, the creepiness, like I said, and it was kind of like, when you really start to look back, digging through, like, text and trying to understand stuff, because obviously I hired an attorney and tried to get a restraining order at this point. All those things happened.
Okay, so let's pause, because we kind of skimmed over the biggest like bomb drop, which was the craziest part when I initially heard this story.
That's a good point. I get carried away with it.
Yeah. He bought the townhouse next to you, so they're connected to each other, right? They're townhouses?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It wasn't even on the market to buy.
Not on the market.
That is, to me, what like made my jaw drop when I first heard the story. I was like, say, what? He did what?
Yeah.
How did that even fucking happen? Like, how? So he had to, how do you know where you lived?
From when we hung out.
Okay, all right. So he knew where you lived, and he took it upon himself to call the owners of...
Yeah, so that's the thing. So I talked to my HOA about it, because I wanted to understand, right? All of a sudden I hear, and so we will back up a little bit. The reason I found out that he was moving next to me, Instagram story. He was packing, and I said, hey buddy, where are you going? And he said, oh, I guess I should tell you. And this was like a week before the thing, and I'd actually had dinner with some girlfriends like the next day, and my friend was like, oh yeah, I just assumed you knew. And he had told her, but he said in Laura's neighborhood. Now I live on a street, so I don't even live in the neighborhood. And just to put in perspective, like, I live by all the restaurants and bars and stuff. I have a townhouse. There are a million townhouses, just like that.
Live,
He could have bought mine if he was going to buy something off market.
Yeah.
And all of that came out. Like I said, we'll get into it, I guess. But all that came out in court. I mean, there were no lying about that. He didn't deny that the house was not for sale. He never went and looked at it. He just bought it.
Didn't you find out though that he called the
owner? That's right. Yes, I get distracted with the HOA.
It's a crazy story. Sorry.
There's a lot of things with the HOA. I did reach out, and she didn't want to say too much, obviously, because she sold the house to him. But that's what I'd heard from the HOA guy. He said she told me, because obviously he has to coordinate everything with HOA dues and stuff, and she had to notify him that she was getting rid of the house, and she said she got a call out of the blue with an offer. The house was being rented out, the people next to me. It wasn't for sale.
Okay, it was being rented. Okay. Wow.
And those people had to go. And even like to the point of whatever day he told me he was moving, or whether it was like Tuesday, whatever day it was, he moved in like the day before, I would swear. I was like watching in the driveway. Yeah, because it was like 9 in the morning, and I saw the neighbors who were renting, and they were like, "Oh yeah, we're moving," and I'm like, "Oh, cool." Like,
so, and you, when I saw you in August, you hadn't been staying at your place because you were scared.
that was the other thing, yeah. So I had a girlfriend who was coming down from Delaware, like where I'm from originally, and she was coming to visit, and I'm telling her everything. So she said, "Stay calm, act like it's cool, whatever. Like you're not freaked out by it." She said, "I'll be down this weekend," and that's when we went out and we got the Ring cameras. I went out and bought. I hate guns. I went out and bought a gun. I bought a machete, whatever I'm going to do with that, I'm not sure. But I bought everything you can
Just
buy.
in case,
I went crazy at
gun, a machete,
the weapons store.
I've got a bow and arrow.
And then from there, Megan's right. I stopped staying at home for over a month. I stayed at random places out in like Valrico, a variety of places to stay like on the move. I didn't want to be seen. Like I was wondering why this guy would spend that much money to go.
I don't think I've ever had a man like me that much.
That's,
I was thinking, I know this is such an odd thought, but that's my like dark sense of humor. Was like, damn, I don't think anybody's liked me enough to stalk me like that. Like, damn, I'm missing out. No, I'm just kidding. But I know it's very serious. But so you weren't staying at your place. Didn't you get in your car one day and like there was a thumbprint?
There was, yeah, and
like
obviously
your neighbor that was obviously not yours. Or something
yeah, and obviously you never know, But at that point, there were creepy things like that were going on. I wasn't staying at home, but I still needed to go home and get stuff. So I would slip in, slip out real fast, go like through back alleyways and stuff, try to go like around the other way. And there was one time in the very beginning, and again, I'm just speculating and stuff, and it felt very wrong. I ran and did that, and I went right to the Publix, like a block away, and his car pulled in right after mine, and I almost videotaped it. I was just like, why is he, like, he knows that I came back.
This can't really be happening to me
right
now.
So I've had my house swept, like, all that stuff. Like, I had,
really? To see if, like, he had it?
Go through, like, because he's an IT guy. So, I had Wi-Fi issues immediately.
Yeah.
Like, the day of court, I had Wi-Fi issues, like, all these things, like, and you just don't know. That's the thing, you just don't know. It's creepy. Another important thing that I never really picked up on until I started talking to people was everything he did emulated my behavior. So like on Instagram, I told you about that actually. If you ever looked at his account, he was active like for a year or two, like a lot of people who just look at Instagram. He never posted anything until February when he met me.
And it was all running stuff, right?
All running. So my Instagram is all running tour stuff, pretty much all. And it's a lot of murals and cool things like that, and me taking selfies places. So next thing you know, he's posting the same kind of stuff to the point that I actually had somebody ask me one time, "Oh, is that the other running tour guy?"
Oh,
and I was like, because I actually said,
like, no, I am the only running tour.
He posted the picture on an Instagram story of a book about Davis Islands that you would never see anywhere that I posted one time.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why do you have that book? I messaged him. I said, if you want to steal my business, I said, that's fine. I said, we can go into this like in a friendly manner.
Right.
I genuinely thought that's how much he was copying my behavior. He went out and he used to have like some kind of light blue station wagon thing or something like that, or minivan, I don't know. And now he has a white sports car. Like I have a white sports car. We obviously have matching homes. So like,
have you seen the show You on Netflix?
No, a lot of people have told me not to watch it.
Oh, I think you should watch it.
Because that's the other thing too. So
give you a heads up. No, it would probably freak you the fuck out.
Yeah, because even with running, I bragged to like everybody that I was going to run 35 miles for my 35th birthday, and he went out and ran 33 for his 33rd.
In like one day, you were going to run 35 miles?
Yeah, I'm going to go do that again. Pretty soon. But I enjoy that stuff. But
he literally, and I'm like,
but he literally copied my run. Like he did the same thing I did. Like went out and did a birthday run of his age.
And probably in his mind, right, he's thinking he's connecting to you. I'm connecting to her because I look at all these similar things we have, or I like to do the same things as you. She's gonna find this attractive and want to come to me is what I'm assuming. Like in the show You, he figures out where she likes to go so he can bump into her. So, what I mean? All these, he knows what she likes so that he can think that he likes the same thing she does. So she's like, oh my God, this guy's so perfect. We have so much in common.
Yeah. And
he's lying because he's,
and that's
psychotic.
That's why I don't want to watch that show, because even when you go back to like the running tour or the running group where I met him back in February, like I said, I worked with him before, so then that makes me almost think like, God, what if he saw on Facebook that I was going to this thing,
right?
And he's been planning this the whole time for years. Like you don't know, you just don't know, and that's what's creepy. And he's still next door, so
right. So all right, you didn't stay at your place for like over a month. And then we get to a court situation, right? Because you want to try to get a restraining order.
Something on the books to say, hey, I'm a little freaked out right now.
So take us through like what happened.
Sure.
With all that.
Yeah. So I got an attorney and everything. Retained an attorney through a friend. We talked about everything that was happening, and fast forward, we went in and filed the injunction against him for everything, just to try to get something, on paper that he would stay away from me within reason. Obviously, you can't force him out of the home.
Yeah, I was about to say, because I think you wanted a restraining order, but you couldn't because he lived next to you, weren't they? Like,
that was the whole thing.
Dude, sorry.
I was like storming
so
around.
What do you do?
I was storming around downtown like by myself, panicked. Like, what do I do? I went to the police station. They're like, we can't help you. Does he own the house? Is what they said. And I said, yeah. And they said, well, we can't help you. And I was like, that really sucks.
It's almost like he probably knew that.
That's what I mean. Like, that's
part of it is like super cunning, like smart.
It's super smart. I didn't say he wasn't smart.
Scary as fuck. Because he's like, she can't even get rid of me because they can't do anything because he owns the property.
And because he never said like, Laura, I'm going to come kill you or something scary. No. He actually that's where like the whole mind fuck kind of thing comes in, because you start thinking like, how much did he plan? And then
Okay, so got an attorney.
Yeah, so we got the attorney, and we went through, his attorney, talked to my attorney, and we did the first, iteration or whatever.
Was it like a mediation, or were you actually?
We were in front of the judge.
Okay,
I mean, on Zoom or whatever because of COVID.
Okay,
but so we were there, and he's kind of BSing. They're trying to come to something before. I guess that's how it works. Before you even go in front of the judge, you're trying to work it out.
Yeah.
And so, long story short, I get this text from my attorney like right before. He's like, we're good. He's going to sign whatever for like a year or something like that. It wasn't like a full injunction, but it was like enough to like stay away order or something like that.
I remember you posting like.
I did. I got on Facebook. I was so happy. I got on Facebook. I was like, I don't normally post this stuff. I was like, but y'all, I was like, if you just keep fighting.
Right. Fight's a good fight.
And then I was wrong. So, but I was really excited for like a minute. And then, or like half a day, I guess. So, yeah, so he had agreed to all that. I'm like, this is the best case scenario. If something horrible happens one day, it's all on record, whatever. I'm thinking really morbid here. Yeah. But, and then from there, the next day it just changed. I got a call like, hey, he changed his mind. I'm like, can he even do that? Like literally, because you're sitting there on the Zoom call, the judge looked at his attorney on the Zoom call thing and was like, are you sure your client's going to sign this thing? And he said, yes, Your Honor. He agreed to sign it. And then, I guess that doesn't matter. So
no signing happened.
So he didn't. And then he got another attorney. I spent way too much money. And we did depots of my friends and me and all the stuff.
So what was your end goal to get him out from living next to you, or to get him to agree to like never come? Like, what was in your mind, like what would have given you satisfaction of like it was resolved?
True satisfaction would be him to move out,
right?
Obviously, but I at some point accepted that wasn't going to be an option. I can't do it. Now I don't know why you'd want to keep living there. It was someone who clearly doesn't want you there.
Right.
That is a whole nother thing.
Like read a room, bro.
Yeah. But no, I guess my end goal.
That into you.
End goal, I guess, just have something on paper saying there's a reason to keep an eye on this situation, kind of thing,
Okay, yeah, it's
just
documented.
Something.
I have put it out there. Something happens to me. Like,
right? Yeah. If I go
into
trying to go to another run group or something, like he has to stay away from me, kind of thing. Like he can't, Obviously none of that happened, but I was just wanting to have something. So eventually, obviously, I talked to my attorney after that, and I was way too much money in for whatever it's worth, and I just said, be honest with me, I'm just fighting an uphill battle, and I just didn't want to go to jury court and do all these things, and then for what? To have what we just talked about, It's not a piece of paper. What does it really matter at that point? So I stopped spending money at that point, and here we are.
Did he ever contact you again?
No, but I do have to see him.
And what happens when you see him? Nothing?
No. There's no, it's just uncomfortable and weird.
He doesn't try to talk to you? Or
no, there used to be a time where he'd kind of like rush to get away when we were like doing the attorney thing, but now that he doesn't have to worry that he's in trouble anymore, he just kind of is there.
Yeah.
So yeah, it sucks. I'm just stuck. I lived there for like 5.5 years, and
are you thinking about moving at all ever, or like soon, or you don't want to?
No, I'm not going to give up my place right now. I don't know what I'll do in the coming years, but that was my initial thought. I thought I was getting rid of this house. I've got to go, and then I'm like, But then what? What if he's really that crazy and he follows me or something? What am I going to do?
Keep buy the next place next to you.
yeah, exactly. So
because all that's public record. So
yes.
you buy a place.
That's true.
Yeah. That's the sad part. It's funny. I was talking to one of my friends and I asked her, I was like, do you have any like stalker stories? Like we're talking about this and like I said, nobody's liked me enough to stalk me. So
you're lucky.
Yeah, I know. They stalk me on social media, but yeah. There's somebody always watching on social media, right? You don't even know they're there, but they're there.
Yeah, that's true.
So she'd post like on her Instagram story of where she's at, and then 5 minutes later, no shit, there he was.
Oh.
Yeah, and he would only approach her when she was by herself, like to the point where she told me, she's like, so it was kind of, and it wasn't extreme stalker to your level, but it definitely was like, you know, your intuition tells you, like, you get creepy vibes, right? Like, there's alarm bells go off, and she's like, I felt concerned for my safety.
Yeah.
Like, because this kept happening continuously.
Yeah.
And there was one time she was at a bar, and one of her guy friends left her, and as soon as she was by herself, he, like, swooped in on her, and basically told her he was going to follow her home, because she, like, biked everywhere, and was going to follow her.
Oh.
Yeah. So that was the other story. There was another one. A girl messaged me on Facebook when I started the podcast and said that kind of something similar is a guy she worked with, and I guess he had a crush on her or whatever. Like, I think he moved to where she was, and she was with her husband at the time. Like, it had been years. Yeah. And it's just like, what are these people thinking? Like, I guess there's some level of obsession. Like, but I don't know if it's... Everything stems from childhood trauma.
Yeah.
If you watch our podcast, everything is childhood trauma based.
There's some truth.
You know what I mean? Like, I think in the show he was adopted. He grew up in a foster home. He was adopted and raised by this, like, grouchy bookstore owner who, like, mentally abused him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there was that. So it's just like, you wonder what trauma that person had in their life that makes them obsessed and attached to someone.
It has to be, because why? I mean, why else?
Right.
There's got to be something else that causes you to tick that way, I guess.
Right, yeah.
But yeah.
Same thing with, like, serial killers. Like, you know.
And that was,
there's
like...
something off in their brain.
But, like, the worst part was, like, when I started sharing some of this stuff, you know, on social media when I was going through, like, my struggle, when it was, you know, actively going on, was how many women responded, like, oh, yeah, good luck with a restraining order. That shit sucks. Like, I've spent years trying to get one and all this stuff. Like, so many women...
So sad to me. I wonder how many women have suffered the consequences because...
Yeah,
they weren't able to do anything to protect themselves.
That's exactly it. Yeah,
you know?
The system is not. I don't get into politics and all that stuff. I don't do any of that stuff. But when I was getting through this stuff, I was like, oh, I was like, this is painful. Because how hard it is.
Right. And thankfully, he didn't do anything to physically harm you. But there are people out there that would, and it's just like.
Yeah, because that was the thing when I walked into the police station, like when it first started, and I was like trying to figure out what to do, and they immediately said, "Does he own the home?" Well, we can't help you. Like my heart sank. I was like, I'm screwed. I was like, I can't do anything to protect myself.
And you probably knew that the entire time.
I did the whole time, but I was like, I kept getting a little. Then obviously, you know, my temporary victory was cool.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you had that little moment.
Yeah.
Silver
had a lot of
lining.
likes and comments.
I know. I remember seeing it. Actually, I was like, yes. Like I remember hearing this story. So.
Oh yeah, it was a good one. Totally.
Well, I appreciate you coming on and telling the story.
Yeah.
But I think there are people who connect to it. Like, I've tried doing the same thing to somebody who.
I think they'll get a big response out of that. I think again, it's bad, but I think there's so many women that
I didn't even think about
something happened. Yeah, I literally was getting tons of like messages from people saying it, and I almost felt bad because they're like naming multiple times, and I'm just talking about once. I'm like, I can't imagine you've done this.
I've never
times.
had to get a restraining order. See, that's what I'm saying. Like I've never.
It's a lot of work, and I didn't even get it.
Right, you couldn't even get one. So.
Yeah.
All right, well, I appreciate thank you for coming on. So thank you everyone for watching. If you're listening to the podcast, make sure to rate us and comment. If you're on YouTube, like, subscribe, comment. You can always email us at femfables@gmail.com. I'm curious if anybody else has any stalker stories because this one was pretty crazy. So if you do, make sure to email me because I'd love to read about it. It's fascinating in a bad way. Yeah. So, but we thank you guys for watching and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye. See you guys.